Well, Jan, before we talk about this movie, I got a question about some of your other films that you were a cinematographer on. Challenging movies in the terms of working environment. Jewel of the Nile in the desert, Black Rain, a good portion in very expensive Japan.
Very expensive Japan.
Yeah. How challenging those movies?
They were, I mean, actually they were, especially the one in the desert, this was pretty tough, I must say. We had a lot of people hit by sunstrokes and things like that. Especially we had a large English crew, and for some reason a lot of the English crew seemed to be more sensitive to the heat than the American crew, and they had a lot of sunstroke victims there.
Okay. Now, in Black Rain in Japan,
yeah. Well, it's because Japan is not really a film country, and they're not used to being filmed on the street. So we had to tell them quite often in advance where I was going to put a camera. Well, how can you tell 2 months in advance where you're going to put a camera? So I just made up plans. I said, okay, probably here and there. And then, unfortunately, when we came there, the police came with a measuring stick that you said on the drawing was going to be here, and you're 6 inches off, and you have to, actually had to move the camera back. Honest to God. So that was pretty tough.
Now, you had an incredible directing debut with Speed. Were you ready to direct prior to that, or was it a big battle to get that directing?
I was actually working on some other projects beforehand, and they didn't get realized. But I was kind of ready before. I wanted to try to do it sooner, but it was really hard for me because I had so many friends as directors, and they said, "Do this one more movie for me." And I said, "No, I really want to start. I really want to start. No, I just want to promise as the last one, I will never ask you again." And they kept doing that to me, and it was very hard for me to say no. And then finally, after Lethal Weapon 3, I said to Dick Donner, "This is it. You know, I have to start. Otherwise, it's going to be too late." You know.
They do a lot of test screenings of motion pictures, and I sat in on one. I kind of snuck in. It was fascinating to watch how they do it with the test cards and the audience comments. What has your experience been with test screenings so far?
It's a little difficult because this movie, you know, we had a test screening, but the problem was that we had a screen where still 80% of all the effect shots were missing. So, from one side, the studio they love test screening because they want to know how the audience reacts. The director is in big trouble because there's not a movie there yet. You know, yes, you have a story, but all the big effect shots, all the basically the third character in the movie is not there. Yeah. So you see actors talking about something that is an empty sky, you know, and it's hard. So you have to be really careful how to judge those and how to interpret those comments of the audience because it's based on not reality yet. So.
You know, I'm working on a story right now on movie posters, and a lot of times, a lot of battles, a lot of discussion erupt over the poster of a film. What has been your input so far on the posters for Speed and for Twister?
On Twister, I really, you know, because studios again tend to like big faces. You know, they say, "Oh, the big stars." So I guess maybe they do, but I felt that one of the big stars of this movie is Twister. And I wanted to see this Twister on the poster, and actually after having talked to Warner Brothers, they were very cooperative. They really wanted to make this like a movie about twisters, and I think they did a really great job.
So during the filming, how often did you feel sorry for the actors?
How often did you feel sorry for the actors? I would think every other day. They were. I mean, it was tough. I mean, they had to go through those little nightmares once in a while. I mean, it's never great to be tossed around and have things thrown at you and rolling around in the mud and not looking very glamorous. But it turned out great, though. Okay.
And one quick question about sequels. Speed 2, is that something that, do you have to weigh that kind of heavily, whether or not it was something you wanted to do?
Yeah, and because I never thought about doing a sequel, period, because I didn't think that was ever going to happen, you know. And because the movie was so successful in the studio, really totally kind of insisted that and I had a contract with the studio that I had to do one more movie for them, period. So, and we came up with a very good story, though. I think it's going to be very exciting.